2001, most MP3 players barely squeezed in 100 songs. CD burners tested your patience, and Napster's 80 million users unleashed chaos on a $14.6 billion music industry desperate for control. But then something radical arrived, promising 1,000 songs in your pocket for $399, and upended everything, from how you listened to what the industry could sell. How did a gadget ridiculed by analysts become a revolution that toppled CDs, made piracy obsolete, and forced an entire business to reinvent itself, while sealing its own fate? Here's how Apple's iPod broke every rule the music industry depended on, and why its ripple effects are still reshaping what music means today. Try loading your entire music collection onto an MP3 player in 2001. The Rio 700, a favorite among early adopters, capped out at 200 songs, if you compressed them to the point of sounding like a tin can. Most devices held even less, with 32 to 100 songs squeezed onto tiny flash memory chips. For anyone with shelves of CDs and a growing stash of Napster downloads, these limits felt suffocating. The promise of portable music quickly turned to frustration. Burning your own CDs was not much better. Each disc held just 12 to 18 tracks, and burning a mix could take hours on a beige PC humming away in the corner. A single failed burn meant starting over, wasting both time and blank discs. Some people spent entire weekends trying to organize playlists, only to end up with stacks of half-labeled CDRs and no easy way to find the song they actually wanted. Meanwhile, music fans watched their collections outgrow the hardware. A 1,000-song library was common, but nothing on the market could hold it all. Copying files to a player took forever. USB 1.1 could drag out a transfer for hours. Every device had a different clunky interface, and battery life rarely lasted a full day. The technology was supposed to set music free, but instead, it kept listeners shackled to their desks and tangled in wires. No wonder millions turned to Napster and LimeWire. If the legal options made listening this painful, why not grab the songs you wanted instantly for free? Convenience was not just a luxury, it was a necessity that the music industry had failed to deliver. The music industry didn't just watch as millions swapped songs for free, it fought back with everything it had. In December 1999, the Recording Industry Association of America filed suit against Napster, accusing the startup of mass copyright infringement. The legal onslaught intensified in April 2000, when Metallica discovered their unreleased track I Disappear, circulating on Napster before it even hit radio. The band's lawsuit forced the company to ban more than 300,000 users almost overnight. Napster's Wild West days were numbered. On February 12, 2001, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals handed down a decision that would reshape digital music. Napster was found liable for facilitating copyright violations. The company scrambled to build a filtering system that could block all unauthorized songs, but the task was impossible. By July, Napster was forced to shut down its entire service. The silence was deafening. For millions of fans, the endless jukebox went dark in a single day. The fallout didn't end there. In June 2002, Napster filed for bankruptcy. The final settlement? A $26.25 million payout barely scratched the surface of the industry's losses. But the victory rang hollow. The RIAA had killed the biggest name in digital piracy, yet offered nothing to replace it. CD sales, already slipping, continued their decline. The legal crackdown had closed one door, but left a gaping void. People still wanted instant, convenient music. The old business model was broken, but no new path had been built. Into this vacuum, something unexpected was about to arrive. Tony Fadell arrived at Apple with a radical idea: fit an entire music library into a device that slipped into your pocket. The heart of the solution was a 1.8-inch Hitachi hard drive, a miniature marvel that packed 5 gigabytes into a space smaller than a deck of cards. At the time, no other MP3 player came close. Most used flash memory, limited to just a few dozen songs, or bulky 2.5-inch drives that drained batteries and filled pockets. Apple's exclusive supply deal with Hitachi secured enough drives for their ambitious launch, leaving competitors scrambling for alternatives. Transferring 1,000 songs was not just about storage, it was about speed. The iPod's FireWire port moved data at 400 megabits per second. letting users load an entire library in under 5 minutes. USB 1.1, the standard on rival players, crawled by comparison. For the first time, syncing music did not mean babysitting a progress bar for hours. Battery life was another engineering puzzle. The iPod's custom lithium polymer cell, paired with a power management ASIC, squeezed out 10 hours of continuous playback, enough for a cross-country flight or a full day at school. Apple's hardware team, led by Fidel and joined by Jonathan Ive, obsessed over every detail. The stainless steel back, the white polycarbonate front, the mechanical scroll wheel that let users fly through long playlists with a flick of the thumb. Inside, custom firmware buffered music to protect against skips and extended battery life by spinning down the drive whenever possible. What looked simple on the outside was anything but. Every piece, from the micro drive to the FireWire controller, was chosen to solve the pain points that had frustrated music fans for years. The result was not just a new gadget. It was proof that portable music could finally keep up with the way people actually lived. White earbuds started showing up everywhere, on city sidewalks, in crowded subway cars, at college campuses, and high school lunch tables. These weren't just headphones anymore. They were a badge. Before the iPod, headphones were black, generic, something you hid under a hood or a hat. But Apple, working with the Chiat Day ad team, made the decision to go bright white. That choice turned out to be genius. Research groups reported that 78% of users thought the white earbuds made them look more modern and tech-savvy. They became a kind of uniform for early adopters, a silent way to announce, "I have an iPod." Apple's silhouette ad campaign crystallized the cultural moment. Black figures danced against neon backgrounds. But the iPod and those white earbuds popped in every frame. The ads ran everywhere. On TV, in magazines, on billboards, making the iPod instantly recognizable. People started asking strangers, "What are you listening to?" The iPod wasn't just a gadget. It was a lifestyle. Accessories exploded. Cases, armbands, and speaker docks lined store shelves, each promising to make the iPod experience even more personal. Then came the real revolution, the iTunes Music Store. On April 28, 2003, Apple launched the store with 200,000 tracks, each just 99 cents. In the first week, users bought 1 million songs. No subscription, no piracy, no waiting, just click and own. For the first time, buying music was as easy as stealing it. The single became king again, and the album era began to crumble. The iPod and iTunes together didn't just change how people listened to music. They changed what it meant to be a music fan. Opening iPod sales to Windows users in October 2003 changed everything. Before that, iPods were locked to Macs, reaching only a sliver of the market. Windows compatibility unlocked the other 95%. Orders surged. Apple shipped 400,000 iPods in 2002, but by 2006 that number exploded to 40 million units a year. The operations team, led by Tim Cook, scrambled to negotiate new supply contracts, pushing component prices down as demand surged. For the first time, Apple mastered global manufacturing at scale, driving the unit cost below $200 even as retail prices stayed high. These hard-won logistics lessons became the blueprint for iPhone production. What started as a risky bet on Windows users turned Apple into a powerhouse, capable of moving millions of devices worldwide, year after year. On January 9, 2007, Steve Jobs stood on stage and called the iPhone a widescreen iPod with touch controls. Most people didn't realize they were witnessing the end of the iPod era in real time. iPod sales hit their peak that year, but the writing was on the wall. Why carry two devices when one could do it all? Within a few years, the iPhone's all-in-one design made the iPod feel redundant. On May 10, 2022, Apple quietly discontinued the iPod Touch, closing the book on a device that had sold over 400 million units. Yet the iPod's influence still echoes. It didn't just change how people listened to music, it sparked the rise of podcasts, a medium named after the device itself. In the end, the iPod taught Apple how to build the iPhone, and in doing so, made itself obsolete. Music now lives in the cloud, playlists replace albums, and artists chase algorithms. The iPod didn't just disrupt a business, it rewired how we discover, own, and value music. As streaming defines the future, its lessons echo. Technology shapes culture, but every revolution has a cost. What's next for music?